Hello, YouTube pipers. It's Double O Pipe here. Just call me Rick. I've been wanting to light up a pipe. And like I said, I don't feel like it's right anymore just to light up a pipe without talking to this screen. I don't really have anything to talk about. I've got my emerald cob without my emerald stem. Once again, Carter Hall. I like the Carter Hall. I like the smell of it. I like the taste of it, as I told you last time whenever I did my little review to the best of my ability at the present time. I've decided that what I'd like to do is buy individual bags of each of the individual tobaccos that everybody talks about, the Virginias, the Latakia, the whatever the rest of them are right now. At the moment, I can't think of all of them, but anyway, I wanted to taste all of them and see if there's some way to learn the difference in the taste, and maybe through that I could distinguish the different tastes in these blends that are offered. I thought that was a pretty good idea, and we shall see how that works. Now, if you'll excuse me for just a minute, I'll try and get this lit. This feels pretty dense, like I packed it too tight or something. I don't know if you heard the thunder in the background, but it's got Hunter hiding over there. He won't even come eat or get a treat. I don't know what to do for him. I sat with him for a while, but every time I try to sit with him and comfort him in times like that, he moves away from me and scooches to the far side of his bed. But at least he hasn't run to the back like he's been doing. I'm not sure if I want to talk about anything today or not. I don't know if I've got it in me. I was thinking about the school that I went to, because our 59th reunion is coming up next week, I think it is, or next month. Almost 60 years since we graduated from high school. It's hard to believe. When they say it's like yesterday, it's the truth. Your memories stay with you. And the difference between 24 hours ago and 59 years ago is nothing, because it's on this side of you. Right here is the present, and right over here is the future. High school is where we first came into our adulthood, if you want to call it that. Young and not so bright. But thinking we knew everything. I guess all teenagers feel like they know everything. But we were juniors in high school. When a particular event in my life took place. I was just beginning to notice girls. Well, I had noticed girls for a long time, but I was just beginning to talk to girls that I noticed. I was no Casanova like Clyde, but I did have a steady girlfriend for the last 3 years of high school. But this particular year, at the beginning of the year, I was in homeroom gabbing with my friends. Our school had a breezeway that went between the buildings, and we had windows that you could see to the breezeway. And I noticed this new girl that I hadn't seen before. And I asked my friends if they knew, and they said, no, she must be new. So I made my way out to the breezeway to get a closer look at this new girl. And I introduced myself and asked her where she was coming from. And she said she came from California. Beach Boys always told us about California girls. So inside I was smiling, but outside I caught sight of her left hand. It had a diamond on it. She was engaged. So I asked her if I could carry her books, and she said yeah. So I walked her to her homeroom and said, can I meet you at lunchtime? And she said yeah. And we got along pretty well through lunch and the next week or so. After a couple of weeks, I noticed that engagement ring wasn't on her left hand anymore. I said, where's the ring? She said, I wrote him, told him that I didn't want to be engaged anymore, and I sent his ring back to him. I said, why'd you do that? You don't want to get married anymore? She said, no, I met somebody. You met somebody? She looked at me and said, you dummy, it's you. I said, oh, okay, I'm fine with that. So we became an item. And every weekend we would go out, double dates, triple dates, quadruple dates. The brand new Hardee's opened up. We could get hamburgers for $0.10. We could get an entire meal, hamburger, fries and a shake for like 30 cents or something to that effect. That was right up our alley because cheap dates were what we needed. We didn't have any money. We did have transportation, but we didn't have money. Or at least not enough to go to the big places, to a show or something like that. But this Hardee's, we got to buy a meal for our date. And we all liked it for the time. It was something new and didn't taste bad. We enjoyed it. Gave us something to do. So it's about 3 weeks after she told me that she had sent that ring back. That this guy showed up at the school. And I saw my girl walk up to the principal's office and was there for a while. And I saw her walking back and she was crying. Wasn't kosher, but I got up out of class and went to see what was wrong. She said her fiance, or ex-fiance, had hitchhiked from California. And she hadn't told me, but he had written to her and said that he was going to come to South Carolina and he was going to kill her and kill me. That was news to me, but she just felt like he was being wordy in a letter and wasn't even worried about it. I said, well, we'll worry about this in the future. We won't worry about it right now. You're going back to class, and I'll go back to my class. Well, when I got back to class, the teacher told me that the principal had requested I come to the office. I said, what did I do? She said, I don't know, but you better go. I got to the office. And he said, Ricky, just had a long talk with a fellow who hitchhiked from California. And he wants to meet you. I said, well, where does he want to meet me? He said, you live near Riverland Terrace, right? And I said, yeah. He said, there's a place, an Amico station. He wants to meet you there. Excuse me. That's considered 5 points because there are 5 roads that turn at that particular spot. I said, okay, I can do that. He said, well, I'm not going to let you. I said, what do you mean you're not going to let me? He said, that boy didn't look right. I think he might be a little attached. I said, well, there's something I got to do. He said, I'm not going to let you. I'll keep you right here. I said, you can't keep me right here. I'm going up there after school. It's after school. You can't do anything like that. He said, well, let me call your daddy. I said, okay. So he called my dad. And the principal told him what was going on. Boy, that was nasty. I don't know what that... Ugh. he explained to my dad what was going on, and he said that he was going to keep me here. And my dad said, well, let me talk to him. So he gave me the phone. Dad asked me what was going on, so I explained it to him. He said, you intend going to meet him? I said, yeah. It seems like I'm supposed to. I mean, I have to. He said, you remember everything I've taught you? I said, yeah. He said, you think you can take care of yourself? I said, yeah. Well, put me back on the phone with your principal. So I gave principal the phone. And the principal was just flabbergasted. He said, but you don't understand, Mr. Croucher. He said, you don't want this boy to go there. This fella, you didn't see him. He's got wild, weird eyes. I don't trust him. But Dad just told him. The boy said he'll be okay. So you can't hold him back. So anyway, there I go with the anyway again. Principal told me to go back to class. I went back to class and I told my friends what had happened. I don't know how this is, but I never played sports. And my friends were all football players and any of the sports. They were all in sports. And we were good friends. They didn't care that I didn't play on the team or anything. But after I told them that, went to my next class. I think it was our last class. Now I can't tell you the name of the fellow who got all this together, but because he gets mad when I tell stories, and he says I don't tell them right, so I can't tell you his name. But anyway, when I got out of class and I was walking to the car, people were running past me, and there were just, it seemed like hundreds of people just running to their cars. And I stopped one. I said, what's going on? They said, so-and-so says Rick Croucher's in trouble and he needs help. I said, what? He said, I don't know who the heck Rick Croucher is, but when this guy says he needs help, we're going to help. So anyway, I gotta stop saying it anyway. At any rate, I got to the car and cranked it up and took off down the road to go to 5 Points in the Terrace. And I pulled up at a drugstore that was right there and went across the street to the Amico and asked the fellow. I knew the guy who worked there. Asked him if some guy was here looking for me. He said, yeah, there was a guy here looking for you, but the police came by and picked him up. I said, what? He said, yeah, the police came by and picked him up. I said, when did this happen? He said, about half an hour ago. I said, well, I guess that means that I don't get to meet him here. He said, I don't think you wanted to meet him. I said, well, something I had to do. That time I saw the girl that I'd been dating drive up. She was on the passenger side and her mother was driving. She talked to me for a minute and said, he's at the police station and the police want me to bring you over there. So I said, okay, let me tell my friends over here what's happened. So I went over and told them. And as I was getting into the car, in the back seat, and she took off, I noticed all the cars that had all the students who had gone to help Rick Croucher come pulling out of there and heading to town. We got to the police station. My girlfriend was crying the whole time. I said, "You got to stop crying. You don't need to be worried about this so much." Sitting at the door, and the door was facing the street. And I looked outside because the door was open. It was a hot day. And I saw all my friends' cars go around the corner. About 10 minutes later, there they come again. They just continued to circle the police station. The sergeant at the desk talked to me and said, you realize that this boy had evil intentions towards you and your girl?" I said, "Yeah, I heard that." He said, "Well, we have him locked up right now. And we've explained to him what will happen to him if anything happens to you two. And we're going to send him out of state." I said, "Okay. I guess if that's what has to be, that's what has to be." And I went over and told my girlfriend what the policeman had said, and she was still crying, saying she was so sorry, so sorry. I said, "Well, you can't help what these people are doing. You know, he's a nut job. Obviously, everybody says he's a nut job, so you can't help that." And as we walked out to go to her car, my friend stopped in front of us as they were making that 10th pass and said, "What's the story?" And I said, "Well, the police say they're going to send him out of state. And that they've taken him aside and told him what's going to happen to him if anything happens to us." He said, "Okay, just wanted you to know. We were here if you ever needed anything." And I said, "No, I know that, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much." He said, "Well, we're going to go on back home then, since you don't need anything." I said, I appreciate your help. I really do." So all of the cars passed by. It was like a parade as they went back to get on the road to go home. My girlfriend's mother took me back over where my car was. And I got in my car and I drove home. When my dad got home that night, he said, "Well, how did it go, son?" And I told him everything that had happened, and he said, "Just goes to show you somebody looks out for you, huh?" I love my dad. I miss him so much. He was a good man. But that's my story. We didn't date for very long after that. Didn't have anything to do with her crazy boyfriend. had to do with me and another girl I was involved with. She passed away recently, I'm sad to say. She was a sweet girl. Sweet girl. She married a sailor after school. Whenever I went to college, she married a sailor. And I think she enjoyed her life from what I could see. We saw each other at reunions. That was just one of the stories from my crazy, crazy childhood because I was still a child. Yep. That was me meeting a death sentence at 5 points. So much for me not having much to talk about. That short went a long time. Okay, folks, hope everybody's doing well. Codger Challenge number 27. Can you believe that? 27. Paladin Piper, you got me started. All right, everybody, take care. I'll talk again. God bless.